during which persons in the relevant areas are permitted to be out in public. Now, over to the proceedings.
In true Christian love and charity towards one another, through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.
You may be seated. This Honourable House now resume its sitting. It is indeed a great honour and pleasure to welcome all of you to this sitting of the Honourable House of Representatives on Tuesday, November 14, 2023, for the continuation of the State of the Constituency Debate. I would like to extend a special welcome to those who have joined us in the gallery, those joining us online via the various social media platforms, particularly PBCJ live stream. Thank you, everyone.
Mr. Clark, Mr. Bartlett, Mr. Holness, Dr. Clark, Dr. Chang, Ms. Grange, Mr. McKenzie, Mr. Chuck, Dr. Tufton, Mrs. Williams, Mr. Vaz, Mrs. Mallow-Fort, Mr. Charles, Mr. Green, Mr. Morgan, Mr. Warmington, Mr. Main, Mrs. Cuthbert-Flynn, Mr. Terrelonge, Dr. Dunn, Mr. Hutchinson, Mr. Witter, Mr. Smith, Miss Smith, Mr. Davis, Mr. Morgan, Mr. Brown, Dr. Brown-Burke, Dr. Charles, Mr. Chin, Mr. Cousins, Ms. Crawford, Ms. Daly, Ms. Davis, Mr. Golding, Mr. Graham, Dr. Guy, Mr. Montague, Mr. Davis, Ms. Hamilton, Ms. Hannah, Mr. Henry Kitts, Mr. Henry, Mr. Hilton, Mr. Jackson, Mr. Lawrence, Ms. Lee, Mr. Miller, Mr. Montague, Miss Morrison, Mrs. Nita Garvey, Mr. Paulwell, Mr. Phillips, Dr. Phillips, Mr. Robertson, Mr. Robinson, Mr. Samuda, Mr. Shaw, Mr. Siblist, Mr. Slowly, Mrs. Vaz, Dr. Wheatley, Mr. Williams, Mr. Wilson, Mr. Wright.
House Leader.
I now ask for the suspension of the standing orders to allow us to go to public business and receive two presentations on the state of constituency debate at this time. We will then return to the other items to be heard on the agenda in the standard order thereafter.
Question is that the standing order be suspended to allow us to go directly to public business. Those in favor?
Aye.
Those against? The ayes have it. House Leader.
Madam Speaker, there are two presentations today. One from Honorable Alando Terrelonge, MP from St. Catherine's East Central. And the second is from Dr. Charles.
House Leader. Let's go back. Recommit statement by ministers, and we'll just go through. House Leader.
I propose we return to the agenda.
Thank you, House Leader. The question is that we return to the agenda. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it. Statement by ministers. Announcements. Clerk. No. The question is that we return to the agenda to be recommitted. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it. Statement by ministers. We have none.
No, I'm sorry to interrupt you, Madam Speaker, but I wanted to acknowledge that you did fulfill the promise of sending to members your views.
Opposition spokesperson.
Yes.
Unfortunately, we are at statement by ministers.
Yes, but I was trying to get your attention, Madam Speaker.
So I'm recommitting first statement by ministers, and then
yes,
the next item on the agenda.
But no, I just wanted to get some clarification because we did get the brief from you, but we did not get the Attorney General's original views on the matter. So the question, Madam Speaker, is whether or not we're going to get that, and probably you can give us a commitment to that. And there were some members last week who had wanted to do some interventions on the matter, and I think you had signaled to them that you'd allow it at this time.
I don't know if this is appropriate, but this matter I have sat here and heard this many times. If the Attorney General's statement, the Attorney General's opinion was sent to the Speaker, to the Speaker. I'm not too sure. The Attorney General is the lawyer for the government, not for the Parliament. If the Speaker asks for an opinion from an attorney, doesn't even have to be the Attorney General. It's a matter for the Speaker whether the Speaker wants to share it with the House. With due respect, but let me just finish. Could I finish, please? The House has a legal officer, and I saw the comments of the legal officer, and I think it was circulated to everyone. The Attorney General's opinion or contribution or brief is a matter for the Speaker. Whether the Attorney General, with due respect, is not the attorney for Parliament. Right? Now, the last Speaker, I understand, asked for an opinion from the Attorney General. As Speaker, the new Speaker can take it, and the new Speaker can determine whether or not she shares it with the Parliament. It's a matter totally for her. And may I just say one thing? You know, I've been sitting down watching the to and fro. I was a former speaker. The Speaker of the House rulings are final. If we have a dispute with the rulings, we go back to the standing order, or in the case of the IC, we go back to the IC and change them. Parliament can do that, or the standing committee can change the committee. But I don't think it is appropriate, what I have been seeing, interrogating the Speaker in this House. Asking the Speaker, why are you not doing this? When you're going to share opinion? And if the Speaker does not provide it, that's the end of the matter. It is the end of the matter if the Speaker doesn't provide it. Because the ruling of the Speaker is final. And I can tell you, as a former Speaker who have conversed with speakers across the Commonwealth, they're always Parliament, and they disagree with speakers. But at the end of the day, they respect the ruling of the Speaker, and that's the end of the matter. I mean, you know, I've not said it before, but I'm saying it now. It could be partisan as much as you like, but the position is, this ruling and the position of the Speaker is final. You want it, let's face it, you know. We can go back, and Member Robinson is on the Integrity Commission that looking at the Joint Select Committee. You want to change it and say how it must be done? You go there and we change it. The standing order, you want to change it at the standing order committee, everything can be changed. All of that, disputes with the Speaker, you change it at those committees. But it doesn't look good for you to be interrogating the Speaker inside the Parliament. You undermine the integrity of the Speaker when you start interrogating her in this case. It's not good. Not good. And I would say, Madam Speaker, let's move on. Announcement.
Announcements? No. No. Do you have a point of order? No, you do not. I was at statement by ministers, and this discussion is actually not on the agenda under statement by ministers. That was the House Leader. That was the House Leader. Announcements. Announcements.
Madam Speaker, thank you. Thank you for my point of order relates to the acting House Leader imputing motive in relation to comments from this side, which I believe to be totally out of order. Let me say, Madam Speaker, this issue arose where I, as a member, challenged the former Speaker on a ruling she made. She indicated she would seek the advice of the Attorney General on the matter, right? Having sought the opinion of the Attorney General, she didn't do so in a private capacity. she sought it because there was a dispute about how matters of this nature should be dealt with. Now, having made a ruling, which you have, right, you should share with us the opinion of the Attorney General so that we can understand the thinking behind the ruling. We have seen the Parliamentary Legal Counsel, right? And that Parliamentary Legal Counsel has a right to opine. But we have an opinion from the government's chief legal advisor, and that opinion should be shared with us. The decision that you have made goes against years of convention of how matters should be dealt with in the House. Now, having done that, I am saying, share with us the thinking, the advice provided by the Attorney General, so we can understand the conclusion that you have come to. And I don't agree that the fact that people have raised questions that the acting House leader would consider it challenging the Speaker. These are fundamental issues about how the Parliament operates. And in that regard, we have a right to know what the opinion is. And that is what we are asking. And that opinion has not been shared.
Thank you, Member.
House Leader. House Leader, thank you. I have been observing the commentary, Madam Speaker, over the last several weeks. And as someone who has some cursory understanding of how government works, the opinions, you will have a cursory understanding very shortly as well. The opinions of the Attorney General was requested by the Speaker of the House, not by the opposition. The legal advisor to the Parliament is the Parliamentary Council. You have absolutely no obligation, Madam Speaker, to share an opinion from the Attorney General to the government, to the opposition. You may do it because of your good nature, but you have no such obligation. And we have been subjected as a country to some very disgusting and inappropriate commentary by members of the opposition about the integrity and good sense of the Speaker, and I don't believe that this House should tolerate it. I do not believe they have sought to caricature. Hold on. You can say anything where you want to say. They have sought to caricature the Speaker as hiding. They have sought to caricature the Speaker as hiding reports. They have gone on national television and radio to make the public believe.
Hold on. Press again, press again. Press your mic again, please.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. On a point of order, I rise because the member is misleading the House about what has been said on this side. And I believe that that is very unparliamentary. And I am really beneath you at this time. It should be withdrawn because you know that is absolutely not true.
Madam Speaker, the simple point I'm making is that the opinions of the Attorney General are not the opinions to the opposition. They are the opinions to the government. The opinion of the Parliamentary Council, the opinions of the Parliamentary Council are the opinions that can be tabled in the House. You have absolutely no obligation to share the opinion of the government's legal advisor with the opposition. Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I think we have heard enough. We have heard enough. We need to move on. Madam Speaker.
I think the speakers recognize me, actually. I think the speakers recognize me.
Let the opposition leader
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
speak.
Madam Speaker, the tradition in this House is that the Speaker is an umpire of the proceedings of Parliament. By convention, when the person to be elected Speaker is nominated by the governing side, the opposition side seconds that appointment. And that is what happened in your case. So when a Speaker seeks an opinion from the Attorney General, the Speaker does so as the umpire of Parliament in the capacity as Speaker of this House. And the context in which that opinion was sought was a matter that had been raised and was of some contention as to how these reports would be treated when they come to Parliament. It is in that context that the opinion was sought from the Attorney General. Having received that opinion, the right and transparent thing to do would be to share it with the members of Parliament. The members of Parliament. Everyone here on both sides, whether you're government or opposition, is neither here nor there. It is an opinion that was rendered on an important procedural matter affecting the governance of this country and its Parliament. And we have a right as members of Parliament to know the contents of that opinion and whether or not the reasoning is sound as to how the change has been implemented, as to how these reports are to be treated with. And in response to Minister, acting leader or House leader for today, I would also make the point that you have not made a ruling on the issue as to whether or not the Attorney General's opinion should be shared with us. You did not rule on that matter. We have been requesting it over time. You have been indicating that it wasn't ready or you were still reviewing it, and that is why our leader of opposition business today raised it again to say, can we see it? Because we would like to see it. My understanding is that it actually says that the prior convention was sound in law. There was nothing in the law that made it wrong for those reports to be tabled as soon as they come to Parliament. And if that is the case, why are we departing from a sound convention that is in the interest of good governance and transparency? And why would anyone want to hide the advice that the Speaker is relying on in making a ruling that affects all of us in here? It is not good policy. It is not good governance. And I ask you, Madam Speaker, as the umpire of proceedings in this House, to consider the matter in that light and to share the opinion with us, and also to consider whether we should not go back to the convention that has served this country well. Thank you, Madam.
Madam Speaker, it's, I can't believe that the leader of the opposition can, as a lawyer, can make these points. The Speaker can always seek advice, as the Speaker has done in asking for the advice of the Attorney General, and having received the advice of the Attorney General, the Speaker makes a ruling, and that ruling is final. To ask what is in the Attorney General's advice to allow the Speaker to make the advice. Indeed, Madam Speaker, the advice of the Attorney General, Chambers can be easily dismissed by the Speaker. Because, and if you need to learn. You need to learn. Members of the opposition, the Speaker is not always right. The Speaker is not always right, but the ruling is always final. Whether right or wrong, the ruling is always final. And so the Speaker having used or have the advice of the Attorney General, she doesn't have to share it. Yes. End of the matter. Can we move on, please, Speaker? Announcements.
Members, 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 please order in the House. I will read again one statement made in the ruling last week. If you review the sitting of the House, July 4, 2023, you will see that Member Robinson was at pains to advise the former Speaker that the Attorney General advises the government or the executive and does not advise the Parliament. The opinion sought by the Attorney General, from the Attorney General by the Speaker is for the guidance of the Speaker in coming to a determination. As I indicated, it does not absolve the Speaker from clearly understanding the legislation. The Speaker would have gone even further than the Attorney General in reviewing the records of Hansard, both from the Senate and the House in respect of their deliberations on the matter. The Speaker would have gone further, as also recommended by Member Robinson to the former Speaker, that one wondered whether the Parliamentary Legal Counsel was consulted. In my ruling last week, I ensured the House clearly understood that all the documents submitted from the Attorney General, all the correspondence from the former Speaker, all the correspondence from the Auditor General were passed to the Parliamentary Legal Counsel. Notwithstanding all of that effort, ultimately the Speaker has a duty to the people of the country as well as the Parliament to ensure that the ruling is sound in law. The ruling of the Speaker is in keeping with the law and the standing orders of this Parliament. The ruling of the Speaker is not inconsistent with the law. So when there are issues that arise in the Parliament that come to blows from different members of the House, it causes the Speaker to have to look closer at the law and the standing orders which govern us within the House and make a ruling. And that was done. In the ruling, I said the opinion of the Parliamentary Legal Counsel, which considered all correspondence between the Parliament, the Attorney General, and the Auditor General, is available for your perusal. I went further to ask the Parliament to email to every member of the House the ruling and the opinion of the Parliamentary Legal Counsel. You are currently, as a Parliament, in the process of going through a review of the said Integrity Commission Act in a joint select committee of the entire Parliament, meaning both the Senate and the House, both the government and the opposition side. That is your opportunity as legislators to fix anything that you had wanted to be said differently. This Speaker has ruled in keeping with exactly how the law is worded. Equally, the following day, a member moved a motion so that also at the standing orders level, at that committee level, the members of the House can decide how you want to amend going forward the entire membership. The members of the House, all committees within the House are a reflection of the House. and all committees within the House need to be understood, members. They are the workhorse of the Parliament. That is where we are supposed to dig very deep, interrogate and argue issues. There are no reports at all in contention that have not been laid and properly laid. Not one report has come that has not been laid up to today. And this has been the case for weeks. Members, respectfully, the ruling is settled and you have recourse through the standing orders if you so desire. House Leader.
Madam Speaker, I now ask for the suspension of the standing orders to allow us to go directly to public business and receive 2 presentations under the state of constituency debate at this time. We will then return to the other items to be heard on the agenda in the standard order thereafter.
Thanks, House Leader. Members, the question is that we suspend the standing orders and go directly to public business to facilitate the continuation of the constituency debate. Those in favor?
Aye.
Those against? The ayes have it. House Leader.
Madam Speaker, the member from St. Thomas Eastern, Dr. Michelle Charles, will make her presentations, and thereafter, Member Alando, Terrelonge.
Let us welcome members. Members, order in the House. Members, let us welcome to her feet for the State of the Constituency Debate, Dr. Michelle Charles, Member of Parliament for St. Thomas Eastern.
Permission to speak from a seat that's not my own.
Permission granted.
Madam Speaker, I must first of all say thank you to Almighty God, for it is He who is the architect of my life, and it is He who deserves the highest praise. Madam Speaker, I am delighted to rise for the 3rd time in this honorable House as Member of Parliament for St. Thomas Eastern. In my maiden presentation, I informed the nation that St. Thomas Eastern had the audacity to shine. Last year, Madam Speaker, I informed the nation that despite being faced with unprecedented challenges, there was a flicker of light in St. Thomas Eastern, and we were confident that we would shine. This year, Madam Speaker, the transformation of our constituency over the last 12 months is significant. And I stand here to report to this nation that the state of St. Thomas Eastern is strong. A social and industrial revolution is on its way in St. Thomas Eastern. We are elevating in the light. Madam Speaker, I am here because of the people of St. Thomas Eastern. They gave me the opportunity to serve. Their confidence, faith, and trust in me is one I will never take for granted. I will continue to humbly dedicate myself to making their lives better and to elevating St. Thomas Eastern. It is with a heart full of pride and optimism that I speak on the ongoing transformation in our beloved St. Thomas. This transformation is not just about infrastructural development. It's a comprehensive revolution encompassing education, housing, water resources, and much, much more. Madam Speaker, I am blessed with an 87-year-old editor that I call Daddy, and an 8-year-old building contractor that I call Mommy. Pernell and Gloria Charles are the winds beneath my wings, and I cherish and honor them every day. I take this opportunity to thank my councillors and my councillor caretakers, my secretaries, Ms. Cooper and Ms. Small. Thank you to my Diamond team. I could not carry out my duties without all of you. I must extend my sincere appreciation. Madam Speaker, let me also acknowledge my daughter Drew and my son Chad, who is here with me today, along with my extended family and friends for their unwavering love and support. To you, Madam Speaker, and to our Deputy Speaker, may you both continue to lead us with fairness and impartiality. To the Clerk of the House and the entire team here at the Honourable House, thank you for your dedication and hard work. Madam Speaker, allow me to acknowledge with deep appreciation our Honourable Prime Minister and my parliamentary colleagues who continue to support me as we work together to build Jamaica stronger. Madam Speaker, St. Thomas is proud to be the parish of the Right Excellent Paul Bogle. In my maiden speech in October 2021, I asked the government to consider a proclamation of a Paul Bogle Day. I am proud to say that less than 2 years later, we all witnessed the reading of a proclamation in Parliament by the Minister and member of St. Catherine Central. And just a few weeks ago, on October the 11th, the historic start date of the Morant Bay Rebellion, our nation paused to celebrate for the very first time Paul Bogle Day. Madam Speaker, we have a working government, and we in St. Thomas Eastern are elevating in the light. Madam Speaker, in my second presentation to this House last year, I asked the government to consider transforming the old courthouse in Morant Bay into a national museum, which would keep the history of St. Thomas alive. I am pleased to say that during his budget speech on March 17, 2023, our Prime Minister, the Most Honourable Andrew Holness, informed the nation of his directive to Chase Fund to start the process of developing a museum in the old town of Morant Bay. He added that the museum is to capture and properly document the history of the Morant Bay Rebellion and its defining impacts on modern Jamaica. Chase has established a project advisory committee comprising of representatives from the Ministry of Culture, Gender, Entertainment and Sports, as well as its agencies, namely the Jamaica International Heritage Trust and the Institute of Jamaica. The technical deliverables, architectural and structural drawings, and bills of quantities are now under development and are expected to be completed within the fourth quarter of this financial year. Madam Speaker, I say to the naysayers, we have a working government and a listening Prime Minister that has not forgotten St. Thomas. Many talk the talk, but he walks the walk. Madam Speaker, let me speak about the elephant in the room, my roads. Last year, I came to this Honourable House with a message from the people of St. Thomas. After much demonstration and all-right frustration, we, the people of St. Thomas Eastern, called on the chief contractors, China Harbour, to completely take over the daily operations of the roadwork in Package 4. I stand here today to report that on Monday, January the 23rd, 2023, the day after Chinese New Year, China Harbour Engineering Company completely took over the daily operations of Package 4 in St. Thomas Eastern. Madam Speaker, last year I told the nation that traversing our main roads in St. Thomas was extremely difficult and very frustrating and hard on our pockets. Do you remember how much I complained about the dust nuisance last year? Do you remember the demonstrations? While they demonstrate, we negotiate, and 10 months later, there is not one square inch of road from the roundabout to Morant Bay, through to Church Corner, past Dumfries, into Lyson, straight back, that has not had at least one layer of asphalt. Last year, I told the nation that doctors and nurses at Princess Margaret were complaining that they could taste the dust behind their mask during the construction of the road. This year, upon the completion of laying asphalt right in front of the hospital, China Harbour donated 10,000 masks to the hospital team, and I want to publicly thank China Harbour for that gesture. Madam Speaker, drainage and pipeline activities are now 85% complete in Package 4. As it relates to damages to the first layer caused by issues with leaks from the existing NWC pipeline, they will all be repaired within the next 2 weeks, if the weather prevails. Madam Speaker, the binder course of asphalt, which is the first layer, is 97% complete once Dumfries is paved. Madam Speaker, people say that the proof is in the pudding. Well, let me say the proof is in the asphalt. I say to those who doubt, watch we elevate. Watch us in St. Thomas. We are elevating in the light. But, Madam Speaker, it has not been an easy task, and we have many challenges still today. but our team realizes that we have a collective duty to care for our citizens. Whatever the circumstances are, we must be respectful, we must listen to their cry, and we must respond in a timely manner. We on this side understand the trajectory that this government has for St. Thomas. We understand the investment that the JLP government and our taxpayers have made in the parish of St. Thomas. No other government has made the investment in St. Thomas like this Jamaica Labour Party government. Let me repeat it, no other government, they didn't have the vision and we were starting to perish. No other Prime Minister has ever looked at St. Thomas with the respect and the love that our Prime Minister, Andrew Michael Horace, has. I stand here as living proof that this government will make sure that St. Thomas will no longer be forgotten. We have the audacity to shine. We have that audacity to ask to be included in the developmental plan that this government has for Jamaica. So today, Madam Speaker, I want to let the nation know that despite the challenges, despite all you see in the media, I bring good news to from the people of St. Thomas Eastern. The people of St. Thomas Eastern are very pleased with the work within the short period of 10 months' time. And we invite the nation to come and visit St. Thomas. Come and drive by, right through Morant Bay, straight up to Bath Fountain, where you can enjoy a wonderful, wonderful hot bath and massage. But you see, Madam Speaker, when you reach the foot of the hill going up to Bath Fountain, thank TBDCO for that $45 million road. I told you about that road last year, and we stand here to thank the Minister of Tourism and his team who already came out and opened that road. With this road comes an increase in tourism, both locally and from abroad. It brings revenue to the Bath community and jobs and security. We invite the nation to come and see our world-renowned destination. Come and see it for yourself. Carpet to the left, carpet to the right, carpet to the front, carpet. Well, we're not looking backwards. We're not looking backwards. Forward ever, backward never. Madam Speaker, while we are discussing infrastructure, let me thank the Honourable Prime Minister, the Minister of Finance, the member from St. Catherine, and the NWA for the Sparks Road Rehabilitation Program. The first 20 million of our 40 million has already been completed in Johnstown-Oxford Road, and the Seaview Drive Road recommendation is in procurement as we speak. The Seaview Drive Road is a critical road which leads to the Lyson Fishing Village and also the Paul Bogle Training Centre. That road is also lined with zinc fence from the entrance all the way to the back. I don't want to run out of time. I am happy to announce that $2 million from the Urban Renewal and Development branch of the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creations will be used for zinc fence removal right there on that road. This ministry, under the Honourable Prime Minister, coordinates and implements urban renewal projects for the sustainable transformation of communities and towns across Jamaica. They have also approved a pocket park in Erie Castle at the cost of $2 million. Madam Speaker, green spaces are important to us as a government, and I must inform the nation that Rudolph Elder Park will be upgraded very soon as well. The ministry is in process of finalizing critical elements as it relates to the park upgrade project. We are elevating in the light. Madam Speaker, the NWA has done so much in St. Thomas Eastern. We see drain cleaning, hot patching of our roads, and the bushing work which we desperately need maintenance of. We see emergency workers ready to assist as we see landslides that maroon our residents every year. We in St. Thomas Eastern are grateful to the National Works Agency. There is no complaint from here. This Member of Parliament has them on speed dial, and they always respond in a timely manner. So thank you to the National Works Agency. Madam Speaker, let me continue on infrastructure because I have to thank the Minister of Agriculture and Fisheries, through RADA, for the farm road in Hayfield spending $8,219,900. It is life-changing and the residents of Hayfield, along with the farmers, and they have sent me here to publicly express our gratitude. Madam Speaker, through you, I want to invite the member from St. Catharines Central and Minister of Culture to come visit me in St. Thomas Eastern. And don't worry, Minister, you will not get lost anymore. On the east side, we have 52 brand new road signs sponsored by TBDCO to let you know where you are. So come to Bath. But before you go on the hill to take a look at our $2 million road Phase 1 rehabilitation project that we started at our Bath Community Center. And Minister of Sports, I must let you know that we used $500,000 from the Urban Renewal Ministry to assist with installing solar lights to the Bath football field and to clean the Bath Botanical Gardens, the second oldest botanical gardens in the Western Hemisphere. Come visit the new Hayfield Road, Minister, and hike a track with me to the historic Hayfield Great House. There you will find an amazing old structure, a surreal, cool place in the hills of Bath, St. Thomas, that I believe can be rehabilitated for weddings and other amazing events, for those tourists that like to hike and ride ATVs and stay in camping areas. Come with me and see the vision that we have for Bath community. I want to thank RADA for that road, and I also want to thank RADA for the Patton Road in the community of Erie Castle in Port Morant Division. That's $7,617,200. We are extremely grateful for. Don't be grudgeful over there. The farmers are ecstatic, and the residents are eternally grateful. Let me continue with farming. Madam Speaker, St. Thomas Eastern has a large farming community. For the last financial year, $697,380 was spent to purchase farm inputs to assist farmers. They receive baby chicks, feed, hot pepper seedlings, and fertilizer. For the new financial year, over $389,000 was spent to purchase 16 400-gallon water tanks. 13 of the beneficiaries have already collected their tanks, and 3 are yet to collect the same. Madam Speaker, I must take a few minutes discussing water. Water is now the priority of our residents, surpassing roads at this time. I get calls every day from the residents, so I must inform the nation with some detail. In Mansfield, Bath, Mount Mansfield, 12 houses in the top section of Mount Mansfield currently lack water supply. Plans are underway to install a new relift pump, storage tank, and transmission pipelines to address this issue by January 2024. Subsequently, this will improve the water access for the entire Bath area. In Ginger Hall, around 10 houses in the elevated section are facing water supply challenges, partially due to the drought conditions at the Bath source. Recent rainfalls have improved the supply, allowing for assessment in the area. Trucking water has been temporarily implemented to alleviate the situation. Sections of Dumfries have experienced disruption due to the broken mains, extensive electric downtime at Dumfries. Relift and irregular supply of Springfield supply source are one of the reasons. Various measures have been taken, including implementing a valve regulate schedule, repairing broken mains, and reconditioning pump facilities. A major project is on its way to install new pumps in Springfield. This project aims to enhance stabilized water supply throughout Dumfries, Morant Bay, License, and all of those communities in one. In Top Hill faces water shortages due to drought every year. Recent rainfall has caused siltation at the source. Cleaning and restoration efforts are on the way, with plans for public engagement and regularization resuming this November and December. In the Dalby area this year, the National Water Commission installed a glass-fused-to-steel bolted tank in Fraser Hill in Duckenfield, St. Thomas. That 50,000-gallon tank installed at a cost of $20 million. That will serve Dalby, which is one of the largest communities in St. Thomas. With the installation of this tank, residents will still be able to receive their supply, even if the water lane relift pump, which feeds the Dalby area, is out of commission. 214 constituents will receive black water tanks through the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation, and we thank the ministry for these well-needed tanks as well. Madam Speaker, this Member of Parliament, along with my councillors and council caretakers, understand the importance and the need for water. We get calls from our residents every day. This is the reason why every year, every financial year, we make sure that the budget funds from the CDF to assist with additional trucking of water to our residents. Madam Speaker, the National Solid Waste Management Authority over the last year has increased the cleaning of our town centre and the districts in St. Thomas Eastern. As I speak, there are no backlogs. They have cleared out the mini-dumps, overflowing garbage skips, bulky waste, and even installed 2 no-dumping signs. All areas are collected on their schedule, and 35 kilometers of road is swept daily. So this Member of Parliament is pleased with the work of the NWSMA. Over the last year, I am very pleased. Madam Speaker, in my maiden speech, The Audacity to Shine, I informed the nation that Cheswick St. Thomas would benefit from the Rural Development Program. I must let you know that a $120 million contract was signed just a few months ago, and right now, as I stand here today, the construction of the road in Cheswick is well on its way. After 28 years of the other party and just 3 of ours, the community of Cheswick in the Derby Division in St. Thomas will benefit from infrastructure works, new roads at a cost of $13 million, improved pipe water system at the cost of $15 million, a new community centre at the cost of $20 million, a construction of 8 engineered houses at the cost of $50 million. I must thank the member from West Kingston. I must thank this Andrew Holness-led government for $120 million investment in Cheswick. Cheswick will never be the same again. Madam Speaker, our commitment to education in St. Thomas is unwavering. We are investing in modernizing our schools and enhancing digital access, ensuring that our children are equipped with the knowledge and skills to thrive in this rapidly changing world. Education is a cornerstone of our community's future, and we are laying a strong foundation for generations to come. Just this year, we had 3 Wi-Fi locations, 1 in Bath, 1 in Portmore, and 1 in Johnstown. I want to thank the Minister for free Wi-Fi. Everyone is calling me by WhatsApp now. Madam Speaker, 295 young persons were employed through the summer employment program offered by NSTA Heart Trust, and 10 students were registered for the LIFT program. The Heart NSTA assisted a family in Stanton Housing Scheme who suffered loss from property due to fire. Construction of the tiny house was done earlier this year and handed over to Ms. Thomas on August the 2nd. The total for that house, $4,691,151. Thank you so much for assisting her. Madam Speaker, the official opening of the St. Thomas Teen Hub occurred this year, and we are proud to have a wellness bench. So thank you to the Minister of Health and member from St. Catherine West Central for that wellness bench. Lyson Primary School won the InSport Primary School Champs for the 2nd year in a row. We must congratulate them. Madam Speaker, the Ministry of Education has been working in St. Thomas, and in the last year, I have a lot to report. St. Thomas Technical High has had renovation of their fire-damaged canteen costing $9,901,000. Johnson Mountain Primary School had emergency electrical repairs, over $1 million. The Dalby Primary Infant had electrical repairs, $1,607,000. Morant Bay Primary had emergency plumbing repairs, sanitary facilities, and sewage system, $1,775,570. Rowlandsfield Primary had electrical repairs to malfunctioning electrical system, $751,736. St. Thomas Technical High had $2 million allocated for installation and an extractor system in the canteen. Estimates are now being prepared. Amity Hall Primary had a $2.5 million allocated for replacement of timber partition walls and termite treatment, all completed. Morant Bay Primary has a $1.2 million allocation for construction of the grease trap and soakaway pits and removal of sewage waste. Estimates are now being prepared. Allow me to acknowledge the Minister of Education and member from St. Andrew Eastern as we express our gratitude. Thank you, Minister, for taking care of our schools in St. Thomas Eastern. Madam Speaker, our constituency continues to spend a minimum of $6 million out of our CDF towards education. We continue to assist students with back-to-school medical and dental fares. Over 1,500 students benefited from back-to-school and tuition assistance this year. This includes book vouchers, school bags and uniforms, Through the CDF, students right now are receiving funds for CXC assistance. The former Member of Parliament and my dental surgeon colleague, Dr. Fenton Ferguson, invested in education while he was here as well, and I must commend him on that. Madam Speaker, it is our intention to make a larger impact on St. Thomas Eastern through education by reaching a wider cross-section of students. So instead of just helping one or two students with a large sum from the CDF, we try to spread it as much as possible. But Madam Speaker, there's a saying in Jamaica, water more than flour. The parents who come to my constituency office asking for assistance with education sometimes leave a little disappointed because there's just not enough funds for me to assist everyone as much as I would like. I try to assist them equally, and most times, sadly, we run out of money. The fact is, the same amount that I gave them for book assistance last year buys less books this year. Madam Speaker, let me suggest to the Ministry of Finance to consider helping everyone in a more equitable way from my constituency and even Jamaica on a whole. Might you consider a one-week back-to-school sale tax holiday where a list of items like certain school supplies, learning aids, school footwear, uniform, personal computers used for education, digital aid, and related educational items are except from GCT taxes during that one-week period. I have seen this work in other countries, and I believe it can be tweaked to work very well for us here in Jamaica. Let us educate as we elevate. Madam Speaker, the health of our community is paramount. As a healthcare professional myself, specializing in head and neck medicine, I truly believe that our health is our wealth. Madam Speaker, the main hospital on the east side is Princess Margaret Hospital. It is a grade C hospital with much potential. Madam Speaker, I believe that the Princess Margaret Hospital has the ability to shine and to be a beacon of light in the east. Madam Speaker, the Princess Margaret Hospital is a little more than 1 hour away from the Norman Manley International Airport once the South Coast Highway is complete, and that is within driving within the speed limit. Even faster, you can get there by ambulance. In my last presentation, I asked the nation and the Minister of Health to look into organ donation information campaign. I asked that the possibility of adding, if you would like to be an organ donor to your NIDS ID also be investigated. I stand here to present a case to the Minister of Health because St. Thomas Eastern is on the cutting edge. The land value has increased and the residents are flocking to the east side. Tourism is on its way. A brand new urban center is being built. With all of this development, we must have a cutting-edge hospital and excellent health facilities. At this time, the Princess Margaret Hospital, which sits on 28 acres of land, only occupies 5 acres. I would like to invite the Minister of Health to investigate the possibility of expanding the hospital because we have the land to do so. Jamaica produces the best doctors in the world. We have the best surgeons in the world. We have the best nurses in the world. And we can have the best hospital in the world. Inviting medical tourism to our parish. With the amount of land that we have around Princess Margaret, we can have a medevac landing strip for anyone in the Caribbean to come so that our surgeons can operate on them. Right there in St. Thomas at the Princess Margaret Hospital. As a head and neck specialist, it brought me joy to hear of the very first facial transplant this weekend. A man received an eye transplant and the surgeries were successful. Imagine an entire wing for organ donation that can not only serve Jamaica and the Caribbean, but the entire world, right there at Princess Margaret Hospital. Madam Speaker, through the GOJ Constituency Mitigation and Cleaning Program, we rehabilitated the hospital back road in Nutterville for $2 million. This road is important to the users of the hospital. Madam Speaker, significant progress was made also through the Ministry of Health to improve the infrastructure of our healthcare facilities this past year. Princess Margaret Hospital established a temporary dietary unit for $13,168,032.35. Isaac Barrett Health Center restoration of the sewage disposal system at $2.9 million. Morant Bay Health Department roof repairs, $4.128 million. Port Morant Health Center renovation and upgrading work, $27,703,500 for Port Morant. Arcadia Health Center, Phase 2, general renovation work, $4,858,004.20. The Rollinsfield Health Center has also been repaired. These completed projects total over $52 million, and we have more in procurement. I say to the Bath community, look out for full rehabilitation of your health center. A brand new dental wing and a roof is on its way. Madam Speaker, I tell the naysayers, this transformation is the beacon of hope, signaling to our citizens, both here and abroad, that St. Thomas is not just catching up, but is set to lead in healthcare services. For those who left our shores, know that your hometown is evolving into a place where world-class healthcare will be given. All of this happening in St. Thomas Eastern, and I've never been the Minister of Health. We have a working government, and I must thank the Minister. Madam Speaker, as of today, there has been a reduction of crime in the entire parish of St. Thomas. However, there's a slight increase in the Eastern Belt, from Morant Bay to Bath, which is a major concern to me. Most of the incidents of shootings and break-ins are recorded in Morant Bay, Port Morant, and Golden Grove area. We have seen an emergence of scamming activities. 11 persons have been charged for breaching the law, and it is our intent to eradicate this illegal activity as soon as possible. A new pickup truck was acquired by Golden Grove Police Station. However, Port Morant needs to have an operational vehicle to help able and properly assess the communities and respond to citizens as well. Madam Speaker, the struggle and sacrifice of the people have always led to transformation. On October 2021, St. Thomas Eastern was rallied into the largest manhunt the parish has ever seen in search of 2 girls, Phyllis and Winshay, and their alleged callous abductor, Davian Bryan. The island was on edge as we collectively prayed for and worked towards the safety discovery of our girls and eventually apprehension of the potential criminal. In 2017, the then Minister of National Security and member from Western St. Mary and his junior minister, the member from Clarendon Southeast, introduced the idea of electronic monitoring. In my maiden speech, I called for all necessary legislative changes needed to include electronic monitoring. Today, I am proud to say this working government, this listening government in July this year has passed the Bail Act 2023. The sole amendment to this bill was Clause 8, subsection 12, which deals with electronic tracking devices. The master abductor, Davian Bryan, is now convicted and serving time at the Adult Correctional Center.
Madam Speaker, I now ask that the member's time for speaking be extended by 5 minutes.
Question is that the member be allowed 5 minutes to complete her presentation. Those in favor?
Aye.
Those against? The ayes have it.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you, colleagues. Madam Speaker, I hope I have shown that this Andrew Holness government is not sitting down idly. I have shown that this Member of Parliament is a working MP. An older lady told me last week that she has never seen so much woodwork in the constituency since my father left in 1983. Madam Speaker, I wake up every day to work hard for the people of St. Thomas Eastern, but I would not have nothing to work with if I didn't have a government that has proven that we can pay down the national debt and keep our dollar stable, that we have proven that we can get our young people employed and build more roads, more infrastructure, more houses for our people than any other government ever. And we are going to ensure the concern that most of us have in this country. We're going to ensure that there is peace in this land. Madam Speaker, I tell them over there, don't get it twisted. We on this side don't have a fighting sign as our symbol. We put our fingers in the air, and that's a peace sign. Madam Speaker, we are the peaceful party in this country. We believe in peace, peace in the north, peace in the south, peace in the East, peace in the West, international peace. I say to the nation, check the history of the 70s and don't listen to the noise. We are the party of peace. Madam Speaker, we in St. Thomas Eastern are happily marching out of the 28 years of darkness into the light with our peace signs in the air. Madam Speaker, in closing, as we stand on the cusp of this modern industrial revolution in St. Thomas, I extend an invitation to every single individual in St. Thomas. Our fishermen who brave the seas every day, our dedicated teachers shaping our future leaders, our medical professionals safeguarding our health, our taximen ensuring our economy's resilience, and our hardworking farmers nurturing the land. Each one of you is integral in our journey of transformation. Together, we are not just dreaming of a better St. Thomas, we are actively building it. I must acknowledge the presence of the former Speaker of the House, my father, Pernell Charles. Pernell Patro Charles Sr. is one of the reasons why we're here today. My brother and I, he brainwashed all of us to want to build Jamaica and especially build St. Thomas. So I have to acknowledge him. I must say to him, we are actively building and doing exactly as you asked, my father. The people who we work for, their hands and their minds and their hearts are that essence to the change that we're looking for. Let us unite in this noble endeavor, forging a future where every citizen has a role to play and every contribution is valued. Together we will make St. Thomas a shining example of progress, prosperity, and unity as we elevate in the light. I pray for love, light, and blessings on St. Thomas Eastern and Jamaica, land we love. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
House Leader, very good presentation. House Leader.
Madam Speaker, I think the House, Madam Speaker, the House is very grateful for a very good presentation from the member from Eastern St. Thomas, Dr. Michelle Charles, and I'm happy her father was here to witness and to hear some of the presentation. So we welcome the former speaker who is here and heard a part of his daughter's presentation. Madam Speaker, I now move that for the State of the Constituency debate to be suspended.
The question is that the State of the Constituency debate be suspended. Those in favor?
Aye.
Those against? The ayes have it. Recommittal.
We now ask, Madam Speaker, that the agenda be recommitted.
The question is that the agenda be recommitted. House Leader, we would want to commence. We would like to commence. Just for good order, I'll repeat statement by ministers. We have none. Announcements. The clerk.
Laid on the table of the House today are the following: the Jamaica Gazette Supplement, Proclamations, Rules and Regulations 2333, Volume 146, dated Wednesday, November 8, 2023, number 314. Proclamation number 19 of 2023 under the Constitution of Jamaica, and the Jamaica Gazette Supplement, Proclamations, Rules and Regulations 2337, Volume 146, dated Wednesday, November 8, 2023, number 315, number 389 enclosing the emergency powers, Parish of
Clark?
St. James.
Clark, could you be so kind as to take your seat? Member Brownberg, I'm hoping they will be able to hear themselves. Members, the clerk is reading, and as close as I am to her, I cannot hear her. And the members of the House are substantially in a place where they're not listening to her either. I didn't hear over on the opposition side making any noise this time around, Minister. Some members, please allow the clerk to read on notices, announcements, so that we may move forward. Clerk?
I will repeat. Laid on the table of the House today are 1. The Jamaica Gazette Supplement, Proclamations, Rules and Regulations, 2333, Volume 146, dated Wednesday, November 8, 2023, number 314, Proclamation number 19 of 2023, under the Constitution of Jamaica, and the Jamaica Gazette Supplement, Proclamations, Rules and Regulations, Volume 146, dated Wednesday, November 8, 2023, number 315 and 2327, and number 389, enclosing the emergency powers, Parish of St. James, Regulations 2023, under the Emergency Powers Act.
Thanks, Clark. Bills brought from the Senate, petitions, papers, reports from committees, notices of motions given orally. You have any? On my agenda, none were submitted.
Reason why I have a question regarding that item. Thanks. I saw, Madam Speaker, that there was no report and none has been in respect to the ACP-EU successor agreement that will be signed very shortly. In the past, the agreement was laid and it is considered by the committee of the House, but none has come. So I'm really making an inquiry. Will that agreement, which will be binding on the government, if it will come to the House through the Internal and External Affairs Committee? So it's just an inquiry.
Who are you making that inquiry of, member?
Well, as I said, we are at item of reports from committee.
And I'm asking you whom you're addressing the inquiry to.
If the House Leader could guide us. Or even the chairman of the committee. No, Internal and External Affairs Committee. So I want to inquire. It's really an inquiry. Has any come for consideration by the committee? I'm a member of the committee, but I'm not so aware. So I'm really inquiring if that report, if it has not come, if it will come.
I am not aware of any being here for tabling or to send to the committee in any respect. No notification has come to me as Speaker in that regard. What I will endeavor to do, however, is when the Parliament closes today, I will check again with the Clerk of the Houses and we will respond to you accordingly tomorrow.
Madam Speaker,
you could also speak to the person who is the chairperson for the committee. However, I would expect that if one came, I would have gotten some notification from the clerk. So I would assume there's none, but I'll advise
Madam
you
Speaker,
concretely.
I'm most appreciative of your indulgence.
Okay, member. So we were at reports from committees, which I had none, and papers. Reports from committees, which I had gotten to. Notices of motions given orally is where we were. House Leader.
Madam Speaker, I now beg to give notice that at the next meeting of the House, I will move, be it resolved with reference to the resolution approved by this Honourable House on the 29th day of September 2020, appointing the following committees. 1. Public Accounts Committee. 2. Public Administration and Appropriations Committee. And 3. Economy and Production Committee, that the name Juliet Holness be deleted therefrom. And be it further resolved that Mr. Dwight Sibbles be appointed a member and chairman of the Economy and Production Committee. Madam Speaker, I further beg to give notice that at a later stage, I will move for the suspension of the standing orders to enable me to take this motion.
I am at questions and answers to questions. House Leader, I would like to just indicate one issue that I'm having. I know Prime Minister is not here today. However, I would ask that a discussion be held with the ministers who have questions standing in their name. Section 17A, deferral of questions, is available to the members, both those who have asked questions and those to whom questions have been asked, to follow up in respect of outstanding questions. Acting House Leader, we do have 2 questions that are still on the order paper. So just a follow-up in keeping with good order and the way we have been functioning to have the question standing answered as soon as possible. There is a question to be added today. Member Paulwell will add that question in the name of the member that originally submitted same.
I will undertake, Madam Speaker, the Prime Minister is not here, and the 2 questions on the order paper are to the Prime Minister, but I will speak with the Permanent Secretary in the Prime Minister's office if these 2 questions can be dealt with as soon as possible.
Thank you very much, House Leader.
Madam Speaker, on behalf of the member from Southeast St. Anne, I beg to give notice that at the expiration of 21 days, I will ask the Prime Minister, on behalf of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, the following questions.
Thank you very much. Next item. Motions that may be made at the commencement of public business requiring notice. Motions relating to the sitting of the House. Motions for leave to introduce bills. Presentation of bills without leave of the House first obtained. Public business. House Leader.
Madam Speaker, there are 2 matters. One is a contribution to the debate that was opened by Member Minister Tufton, and the other matter is the change to the membership of the committee. With your permission, Madam Speaker, I'll just do the latter and ask that I now move for the suspension of the standing orders to enable me to take the motion, notice of which I gave earlier.
Members, those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it. House Leader. Public business in
Madam
respect
Speaker, I now ask that the debate on the number 8 in the order paper, that the contributions from other members of the House can be heard at this time on the National Family Planning Board Act and the National Council on Drug Abuse Repeal Act.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
Member from St. Mary Central is on his feet.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise to make my contribution to the bill entitled An Act to Provide
I was wondering, House Leader had asked for the suspension, but he had not put the motion. I thought he was going to go straight into the motion he moved in respect of the standing orders and the other motion with the change in persons on the committees. But you didn't put it, House Leader.
I did ask for the suspension of the standing order.
Yes, you did, and you got it.
And I got it. So what we are now at, Madam Speaker, is to ask for the suspension of the standing order to allow the continuation of the debate.
Finish.
Madam Speaker, for us to continue with the debate on the motion was we had put it. Sorry, Madam Speaker. The motion that on the committee, changing committee, I ask for that motion to be put formally.
Thank you, House Leader. The question is that the motion moved by the House Leader in respect of the amendments to the committees be adopted. Those in favor?
Aye.
Those against? The ayes have it. So moved.
We will now have the continuation of the debate on those two bills, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, House Leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise to make my contribution to the bill entitled An Act to Provide for the Integration of the National Family Planning Board into the Ministry with responsibility for health and to make provisions for the transfer of the functions, assets, rights, and liabilities of National Family Planning Board, to appeal the National Family Planning Act and for connected matters, and also a bill entitled An Act to Provide for the Integration of the National Council on Drug Abuse into the Ministry with responsibility for health, to repeal the National Council on Drug Abuse Act and for connected matters. To state at the outset, Madam Speaker, that these are not contentious bills, as long as there are provisions to ensure that the continuity of the two entities to the good service of the Jamaican people, the opposition is supportive of the bills. We do have a few concerns, however, Madam Speaker. You know, Madam Speaker, the first question that would arise is, what is the mischief the minister is seeking to correct in relation to the two bills? We understand the public sector transformation recommendations, that where there are inefficiencies in the operations and possible duplications, then in an effort to ensure greater efficiencies across the ministries and the ministry, and proper spend of taxpayer money, then it might be prudent to avoid duplication of activities. The National Family Planning Board Act goes back to 1970, when it was promulgated, and then the functions were primarily an agency, and I read Section 4 of the Act, with the power to prepare, carry out, and promote carrying out of family and population planning programs in Jamaica, and act as a principal agency of government for the allocation of financial assistance or grants to other bodies or persons engaged in the field of family and population planning in Jamaica. Madam Speaker, that was a time when the population was growing at a fast rate, and the ability of people to have proper education and upward social mobility was stymied by the large number of children in the family. Two is better than too many was the slogan of the time. And the National Family Planning Board had that slogan that grabbed the attention of most of the population with the contraceptive methods offered by the National Family Planning clinics across the country. And over the years, the board took on the additional responsibilities in maternal and child health, in HIV management when AIDS became a problem, and treatment, and established a good track record and their name as one of the foremost and important health entities in this country. You know, Madam Speaker, the National Family Planning Board did this work with much credit. And Fortunately for us in Jamaica here, it did not get the notoriety which programs in other countries got, where there were even situations where there was forced sterilization of people around the same period. It is interesting, Madam Speaker, that with the aging population, and the Minister spoke to it before even introducing this particular bill, and the knowledge that the birth rate needs to be increased now, we are now seeing that the need for the board is no longer relevant, and that we might now be having the slogan, 2 is not enough. Are we now saying that the need to have that message that existed when 2 is too many is no longer relevant in the changing socio-family dynamics? What we have been told by the Minister and in the bill that has been tabled is that the operations will be morphed into the mainstream Ministry of Health and Wellness. We have been advised that corporate services will be shared. Madam Speaker, but will there be beefing up of these corporate services in terms of personnel and resources to handle such things as HR, procurement, public relations, etc. in the ministry? These are genuine concerns, as we see where the ministry is now reversing the process of decentralizing some of the activities, that they had decentralized over the years. You know, Madam Speaker, I've suggested to the Minister many times before in my sectoral presentation that he should repatriate some of the regional health authorities' operations back into the ministry, as there's widespread duplication across the 4 health regions, especially in upper management positions. So whilst we see here where the Minister is intent to integrate these 2 entities into mainstream ministry, there's an expectation and a hope that in the near future some consideration will be given to other posts within the regional health authorities' operations, so that we can have the same efficiencies that we are seeking to have with the integration of these 2 entities into the mainstream ministry. Similarly, Madam Speaker, the concern could be raised with that of the prevalence of drug usage and today's access to many designer drugs, the increase in drug usage among the young population and the social landscape, is the right decision being taken to disband the National Council on Drug Abuse and integrating the operations into the ministry as a separate division, as is said, with its own chief technical director as head of that division? Will the focus of this division be as extensive and far-reaching as its pending predecessor, the National Council on Drug Abuse? What of the collaborations which the current NCDA have and the partnerships which they have forged over the years? Will funding that they have had access to and collaborations which are a part of continue to exist when it falls under the direct ministry control? Will the timely intervention in matters of substance abuse and ameliorative measures be done as expeditiously as is done now? I understand the thinking, Madam Speaker, but cannot help but wonder whether the work of the current council will get lost in the mainstream ministry and become less than an effective replacement. In terms of the reporting relationship, the executive director of the current NCDA reports to a board appointed by the minister. And in terms of direction, Section 16 of the Act state, the minister may, after consulting with the chairman, give general directions concerning the policy to be followed by the board in relation to the exercise and performance, its function, and the board shall give effect to those directions. In light of the new contemplated structure of the CTD reporting to the permanent secretary, what, if any, challenge may be envisioned in terms of policy, and will the oversight given by the board, current board, equate to what will be given to an already fully tasked permanent secretary? I say that, Madam Speaker, in light of the recent reminder by yourself in the Parliament that public bodies report to ministers are not permanent secretaries. Hence, my concern about reporting structure and oversight and what effect will there be, and the additional responsibilities of the permanent secretary. Additionally, Madam Speaker, The schedule of the Act, Part 1, with the composition of the current board consisting of 16 persons, including the Permanent Secretary in Health, the Financial Secretary, the Permanent Secretary Education, Permanent Secretary Minister of Labor and Social Security, or their respective nominees, plus the others. Are we now to hear that the expertise and interests of the following entities will not be factored into this new arrangement? And it is only the Minister of Health and Wellness which will now possess all the institutional knowledge to have this function. What of all those other entities mentioned in Part 1 of the schedule? The Jamaica Council of Churches, the Medical Association of Jamaica, the Bar Association, the Private Sector Organization of Jamaica, the Joint Trade Union Research Development Council, a member recommended by the Leader of the Opposition, 2 members appointed by the Minister from organizations such as the Association of General Practitioners, Bustamante Institute of Public and International Affairs, Caribbean Institute of Mass Communication. We have a whole list here, Madam Speaker. Will the expertise that these persons added to that particular board, how will the operations now go when you don't have this factored into this new legislation? We know, Madam Speaker, that in the Minister's presentation indicated that the Public Sector Transformation Implementation Unit has had extensive consultation with the staff of the NCDA and the Ministry, and these plans have been signed off by the Ministry of Finance and the Public Service, the Jamaica Civil Service Association, the Services Commission, and the Ministry of Health and Wellness. And certainly based on what the Minister presented in the Parliament in his opening, that in terms of retirement benefits, in terms of pension, in terms of transfer, no one will lose their work. They will be integrated in the ministry or sent to a regional health authority where they possess that expertise. And whilst appreciating, Madam Speaker, that the Minister in conjunction with the Cabinet has formulated this new policy and has taken the bill to the Parliament for promulgation, as it's within its legal right, good order and governance should also dictate that those entities which, based on the current legislation, comprise the board should also have been consulted. And the question, Madam Speaker, I'm asking of the Minister, were these consultations done, as you didn't speak to these in your opening? As you indicated, as I have indicated, Madam Speaker, the few concerns which have been highlighted cause us some amount of consternation. And if they are satisfactorily addressed, we have no difficulty in supporting the bill. Finally, Madam Speaker, can the Minister seek guidance from the legal drafters of the language in Section 4D in both pieces of both bills, which states all records and data of the National Family Planning Board shall pass to the Minister with responsibility for health on behalf of the Crown. Other parts of the bill spoke to the Ministry of Health with responsibility for the Crown. Why not the Ministry? Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Member. Minister of Health and Wellness, Minister Tufton. Could you please turn on your mic, Minister? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Madam President, sorry. Madam Speaker. My apologies, Madam Speaker. I know shortly, hope all being well, you'll be Madam Chair shortly so maybe I'm being premature when you go into committee, of course. So let me just thank my colleague who has admitted up front that this is not a controversial move on the part of the government to consolidate or integrate the National Council on Drug Abuse and the National Family Planning Board into the Ministry of Health and Wellness as departments for greater efficiencies. And the truth is, Member, you posed a question when you started, and literally answered the question, which I appreciate, which were the reasons that I advanced when I gave my statement at the last sitting, outlining why this consolidation. So it's not just a matter of a recommendation by the transformation unit, but it is a tangible recognition that the consolidation would mean a more strategic approach to planning, integration, and execution of the respective roles of the two units now being integrated. And essentially what the base response I'd give to your concern, and these are reasonable concerns, and I can appreciate why they are being made, but again, you essentially and explicitly stated that times have changed. There was a time, and I consider that two is better than too many campaign as probably the most effective marketing campaign that any government has promulgated, supported by the country generally, because it was very effective. The closest thing to that maybe is Jamaica Moves, a close second. But it worked. It worked because it reached the population. It was addressing a concern of overpopulation, of persons having children more than they could afford to cater to care for, and impacting the planning of the country. And we have seen now, which I believe is also a justification for why we are where we are, almost an opposite taking place, where at the rate of growth of population, we are actually tapering off and could possibly see a decline, even though I will add that there is still much work to be done, because if you dig down deeper to where the children are coming from in terms of the socioeconomic profile, there are some concerns around parental, prenatal care and postnatal care and parental guidance and so on, because persons who can afford to are the ones who are not bearing children. So there's still a lot of work to be done there. So the narrative and the approach. But beyond that, the change in the environment has allowed for a lot more mechanisms to be deployed to reach the targeted population in both instances, whether it's the drug abuse possibility or child rearing and through the Family Planning Board. Technology, for example, has allowed far greater reach. Well, that's a double-edged sword. So we have to plan to ensure that it is positively targeted or specifically targeted and reach the audience for which it is intended. But the truth is, you can go into everybody's living room, whether through their smartphone or through television. In those times, back in the 70s, it wasn't that easy, obviously. So with all of that empowering tools that are now available and infrastructure, it is possible to consolidate, to more strategically target and literally niche targeting to reach the population that you desire to reach and to be more effective in the messaging. Now, remember, you are perhaps more aware than most of the 2030 plan that we have for public health. And a lot of that is now taking place. And I'm very proud of my administration under the Honorable Prime Minister Andrew Holness, because the truth is, we are doing the transformational things that are necessary to right-size public health. I don't know of any other administration that has put out a 12-page in the daily paper advertising over 700 new doctors to be deployed in public health. I don't know of any other administration that is spending probably $250 to $300 million US dollars to improve the hard infrastructure of public health, more build out of hospitals. And I don't know of any other administration that has increased the compensation and established more posts, permanent posts, to address security of tenure than this administration has done. And as tabled, in my last sectoral, the document on primary healthcare reform, which is about to go to cabinet and then ultimately here as a green paper, it means a lot more doctors, more infrastructure, more outreach, more services at the community level through the regional authorities. So I'm making a point to say, member, that not only has the demographic profile and the social profile of the population has changed, requiring a rethink of what we are offering and how we structure it. But the truth is the infrastructure, the technology has changed, which allows us now to adjust and achieve the objectives, and even more so than we could have back in those times. So I do agree that the risks are greater in many respects, certainly in terms of drugs and drug usage. It's a greater risk because the exposure is greater, and we have seen new emerging trends that can be a threat. So the concern around will these agencies, will these entities be watered down is a valid concern. And I'm here to say to you that based on how it is structured and its integration into the regional authorities through things like primary health care, I believe that we'll be in a much better position because essentially it's going to work together and the strategic planning will be more robust to achieve the objectives. So I think a lot will depend on the management of the entities, and as you know, we will have to make our best effort to get the best people to support the management, because if you don't have good management, even with all that you have done, you won't have the effects that are necessary. On the issue of the partnerships, the other stakeholders. So there is the intention to appoint an advisory board, which is not captured in the bill. Normally it's not, but I'm saying now that we will continue through an advisory board to capture all those stakeholders that you are concerned, and rightfully so, may not have had a voice under dispensation without that kind of infrastructure. So that will take place. The PS and the question around being responsible at the level of the PS as opposed to the board. So the advisory board will be there, clearly advising the minister. The permanent secretary, who will be always the accounting officer, that's his role, and he works, of course, with unit heads, department heads, and the strategic planning takes place at that level, guided by the policy that we promulgate. My own view is that consolidation means a more tight-knit strategic planning where different departments, units can work together for the greater good, as opposed to the decentralization which was previously the case because the environment required that level of decentralization. In a strange way, you have justified that in your argument by saying, why aren't we consolidating the regional authorities? As a critique, as opposed to justifying why we are consolidating these two agencies. So I think we're on the same page. And there is work taking place at the regional authority level, which will see some consolidation with time. So, Madam Speaker, the only other point I'd make, because I think we're not seeing things differently, generally speaking, is that Section 42D, the minister is to be replaced by ministry. So we're accepting what you have said in terms of that final point you raised. I did some quick checks, and that's a valid position. So we'll accept that at the level of committee. So, Madam Speaker, thank you very much, and thanks to my colleagues.
Minister, would you be so kind as to ask that the bill be read a second time?
Madam Speaker, I now ask that the bill be read a second time. Thank you.
The question is that the bill be read a second time. Those in favor? Those against? Minister, just to confirm, there are two bills or one. So I'll say that the bills be read a second time. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it. Clerk?
A bill entitled An Act to Provide for the Integration of National Family Planning Board into the Ministry with Responsibility for Health, to make provision for the transfer of the functions, assets, rights, and liabilities of the National Family Planning Board, to repeal the National Family Planning Act, and for connected matters, being now read a second time. Also, a bill entitled An Act to Provide for the Integration of the National Council on Drug Abuse into the Ministry with Responsibility for Health, to make provision for the transfer of the functions, assets, rights, and liability of the National Council on Drug Abuse, to repeal the National Council on Drug Abuse Act, and for connected matters, read a second time.
Thank you, Clerk. The House will now resolve itself into a committee of the whole House to consider both bills clause by clause. Minister, I will ask that you guide us in respect of which of the two bills you would like to start with first.
Madam Speaker, could we begin with the National Family Planning Board? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister. So, Minister has instructed the National Family Planning Repeal Act 2023 will be considered first. I'm sitting here, however, I am now in committee. Minister, how would you like to proceed? Would you like me to put the clauses here from 1 to 3 first? Yes. I put clause 1 to 3 of the bill we're looking at is the National Family Planning Repeal Act 2023.
And then 4D.
So that is the bill in question. And the clauses, I put clauses 1 to 3. Those in favor? Aye. Those against? The ayes have it. I put clause 4. Minister?
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, as said earlier, 4.3D, which reads all records and data of the National Family Planning Board passed to the Minister. I'm proposing that we replace Minister, delete the word Minister, and replace with the word Ministry as proposed. Thank you.
The Minister has indicated the amendment. Those in favor of the amendment to clause 4? Those opposed? The ayes have it. I now put clause 4 as amended. Those in favor? Aye. Those against? Minister Malahufort, I saw your mic go green a little. Would you like to comment before we close?
No. No, Madam Chairman. The Minister has indicated the amendment to be taken.
Thank you. I put clause 4 as amended. Those in favor? Aye. Those against? The ayes have it. Minister, from clauses 5 through to 8, do you have any other amendments? I put clause...
Madam Chair.
Thank you, Minister. I put clauses 5 through to 8. Those in favor? Aye. Those against? The ayes have it. I put the type...
Madam Chairman, out of an abundance of caution, may I also ask you to take the memorandum of objects and reason? It's not normally done, but there is a reason for it. Yes.
As the Minister of Constitutional Affairs indicated, it's not normally done, but we'd like the House to put also the objectives and memorandum.
It's the memorandum of objects and reasons.
Memorandum of the objects and reasons, yes, is what she would like to put. before the House for voting. Those in favor? Those against? Minister, no, it can't be amended. It doesn't form a part of the act. Form a part of the act.
Madam Speaker, if I may just indicate that some time ago, the decision was taken not to print the bills with memorandum of objects and reason, but a new decision has been taken to have the bills printed with a memorandum of objects and reason, which is a bridge policy statement behind the bill. And it is to assist for interpretation and assist for research and assist. There are different views on the matter as to whether, in the absence of the memorandum of objects and reason being put explicitly, it should be printed. It has not been done in recent times in our jurisdiction, but other jurisdictions have printed the bill with the memorandum of objects and reason. It's not really a matter for dispute. I do understand that members in this House would not be familiar with it being put at all, because for a long time it has not been included in the laws when printed.
Minister, thank you very much. However, since we have so many disagreements about changes, I would like not to start a precedence in respect of any other change. So what has happened is that the bill always carries from the printing office the memorandum of objectives and reasons as to the purpose of the bill and the thinking behind the bill, but the act does not carry the memorandum. So we have been observing that they have been consistent and they have been operating as you would expect them to minister. And so I would remove putting the memorandum of objectives and reasons, because at this stage it has not been necessary.
Like I say, I understand, because it is not something that we have done in recent time, and I would take no issue with it. I only ask because of the competing views that have been expressed on the matter. But it not being taken does not preclude the bill, when it becomes law, from being printed with it. So it's not an issue.
Agreed, Minister. It's always attached in the printed copy, and we at the Parliament will ensure that we continue to monitor to see if for any reason that is dropped. I put the title and enacting clause.
Madam Chair. Madam Chair, I wanted to speak before you had acknowledged the Minister. I want to thank you for stopping for a moment to allow the conversation to take place. Because I believe that the Parliament, and when we are here, whether in committee or not, is a place where we do have discussions. And I believe that it is common, just courtesy, if a policy change is made and something is being asked of all of us, that it be made explicit and that it is not just said, let's change it without giving that. So I appreciate what was just done just now.
Thank you, Member. I put the title and enacting clause. Those in favor? Aye. Those against? The ayes have it. Members of the committee, the question is that I do report the bill as having passed committee stage with one amendment. Those in favor? Aye. Those against? The ayes have it. So, No, I'm not going to the House yet. So this bill has passed committee stage, and then we're going to take the other bill, and then we come out of committee, and then we'll go back to the House. All right. So the bill, as it relates to the National Council on Drug Abuse Repeal Act 2023, is now being taken. The Minister would have concluded. Minister, your guidance?
1, 2, 3, Madam Chair.
I now put clauses 1 through 3. Those in favor?
Aye.
Those against, the ayes have it. Clause 4, Minister. Do you have a change?
For clause 4.3d, Madam Speaker, all records and data of the National Council on Drug Abuse pass to the Minister. I'm recommending that we delete the word minister and replace with the word ministry.
Thanks, Minister. Committee, the question is that the amendment be taken. Those in favor?
Aye.
Those against? The ayes have it. I now put clause 4 as amended. Those in favor?
Aye.
Those against? The ayes have it. Minister, do you have any other amendments?
No, Madam Chair.
Clauses 5 through 9?
No, Madam Chair.
I now put clause 5 through to 9. Those in favor?
Aye.
Those against? The ayes have it. I put the title and enacting clause. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it. The question is that I do report the bill as having passed committee stage with one amendment. Those in favor?
Aye.
Those against? The ayes have it. I do report the bill, the National Family Planning Repeal Act 2023, and the bill, the National Council on Drug Abuse Repeal Act 2023, as having passed committee stage, each with one amendment. Minister?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I now ask that the bill be read a third time.
Bills?
Bills. The bills be read a third time.
The question is that both bills be read a third time. Those in favor? Aye. Those against? The ayes have it. Madam Clerk.
A bill entitled An Act to Provide for the Integration of the National Family Planning Board into the Ministry with Responsibility for Health, to make provision for the transfer of the functions, assets, rights, and liabilities of the National Family Planning Board, to repeal the National Family Planning Act, and for connected matters. Also, a bill entitled An Act to Provide for the Integration of the National Council on Drug Abuse into the Ministry with Responsibility for Health, to make provision for the transfer of the functions, assets, rights, and liabilities of the National Council on Drug Abuse, to repeal the National Council on Drug Abuse Act, and for connected matters, read a third time and passed.
Thank you. Members, both bills have passed. House Leader.
Madam Speaker, it's not intended to do any further business, so I ask that the House be adjourned until Wednesday, the 15th of November at 2 p.m.
Thank you, House Leader. The question is that the House do now adjourn for tomorrow, Wednesday, November 15th at 2 p.m. sharp. Those in favor? Aye. Those against? The ayes have it. This honorable House now stands adjourned.